All right, welcome into week 16 of the high school football season, also known as PIAA Championship Week. This is it. This is the PA High School Football Report podcast. We are powered by PennLive. Over there is Evan Wheaton, colleague, traveler extraordinaire.
You're pointing, and it's a video. It's an audio podcast.
How else am I going to identify him and basically say, Evan, boom?
Well, when you say
you're here, you're now.
When you say there, our listeners don't know where there is.
Listen, and over there next to me is Dan Sostek, giving me the business this early in the podcast.
It's that kind.
Listen. You're still hopped up on Thanksgiving Day sides. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yep.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Good Lord. All right. So, championship week. It is week 16. 6 games remain on the docket. All at Cumberland Valley. 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday. The big one in our neck of the woods, obviously Friday night, 5A championship. Bishop McDevitt going for their second state title in 3 seasons. This would be the first one in 5A, and they will meet a pretty formidable foe in Roman Catholic. We will get to that, but before we get to all of the stuff that happened and Evan's shriveled toes and fingers from, let's just call it 48 power hours in Altoona. You and I were both there. Lots of action happening at Mansion Park Stadium, as it tends to happen this time of the year. I actually got to see 3 extraordinary football games, starting with Lampeter Stroudsburg, who was in the 4A championship game after rallying in that one. So before we get to that, gentlemen, I hope you all enjoyed your Thanksgiving. How was it? You guys were both with friends and family in places far from Pennsylvania, correct?
No, I was in Pennsylvania. I was in suburban Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then you weren't very far. Evan, you were in Connecticut?
Yeah, New Haven area. Drove straight from New Haven to Altoona that day.
Yes, with a pit stop to put all the leftovers, turkey leftovers in your fridge.
Had to make a pit stop real quick.
Right.
So maybe not straight to Altoona, but I was in and out the door.
Essentially, it's straight to Altoona. The good news is we didn't have any resting snow or hit us, but my God, was it cold Friday night?
Oh, it was bad. I was like jumping up and down on the sideline trying to like stay warm, and I was like, man, I'm gonna die out here.
Well, luckily I kind of guilt tripped the people in Coatesville to let me stay in the press box. There ended up being a couple spots there. They told me there weren't spots at first, and then I just kind of gave them my sad puppy eyes, and eventually they were like, all right. So I got to watch St. Joe's Prep Downingtown West, the battle of the Ohio State quarterback alums.
Yes,
and in both cases, it looks like Kyle McCord camp is the winning one.
Yeah,
it wasn't Saturday.
You get bragging rights. Absolutely, you lose to Michigan. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
So all right. So let's talk a little bit about Friday night. After the day after Thanksgiving, and we'll go right to Bishop McDevitt, who put on a whale of a performance against Pine-Richland, the Whitfield champions, and emerged from that. Evan, you were down on the field. I was nice and toasty. It was actually a little too hot, in the press box.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
really?
A little too hot.
Yeah.
But I was worried about you. That's the good news. Should feel good about that. But we saw McDevitt just sort of, the elephant in the room is Nazir Jones-Davis.
Yeah, man.
Who ran like he was literally on a mission. Like I pictured when Forrest Legg, when the braces came off and he just took off, that was Nas pretty much against the Rams.
Yeah, 29 carries, 221 yards, bulldozing into the end zone. He's had a great season, but this postseason has been fantastic. I know we talk a lot about McDevitt's passing records and that, but the way that the Crusaders are running the ball, obviously a testament to the O-line, and obviously Maurice Barnes in there when you power through on like a short yardage goal line package. But I've been so impressed with.
Yeah, I was receiving text messages during the game, and basically all of them were saying the same thing. Like this kid, he's not going to go down. He looked like he was a demon on the loose.
Yeah, a heck of a hit too as a linebacker.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. You kind of mentioned it that typically what we've been saying this year is that they're kind of contrasting styles in Barnes. In the postseason, it hasn't really been that. Nas has been running guys over too. Like he has looked that part of that complete running back who can do a little bit. He can cut up field. He can juke you out, and then he can also run you over too. He's been a physical running back. He's like the physicality has taken another. It's never been like he's shied away from physicality.
Oh no.
But it's been another level in the playoffs.
But it's too. There's and both the 1,000-yard rush guys. They're overshadowed.
Yeah.
Because you've got the guy under center with 13,000 passing yards in his career.
Yeah.
And you've got those dynamic wideouts, and obviously Jonte Quick has emerged to just. It doesn't matter wherever you put this guy on the field, he's going to make a big play.
Yeah.
He did it again Friday night. So the workload, like you said, the physical play and the workload of Jones, Davis, and Barnes have really been overshadowed a little bit, maybe by us too much because of that dynamic guys outside.
Because, you look at it now, and Nazir Jones-Davis is over 15.
Yeah, he's like 1,500 yards.
And 17 touchdowns. So he's looking like, I think he's basically, it'd be pretty hard to keep him off an all-state ballot, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I think he's an all-state runner. He might be, when we do our all-star team for all classifications, he could be right in the mix there for that running back spot if they win the title.
I agree. I think he's worthy of that spot right now. It's just, that's been an element that, again, we talked about this multiple times during the year. The first question mark was, how's the offensive line going to come together? Because there's going to be some new faces there. And you're going to have to tinker. Do you put this guy right guard, right tackle? Where does he fit better? Is he better at pulling? Yada, yada. And then you wonder, okay, is the backfield of Barnes, and how much is Jones Davis going to emerge? Is Jonte Quick going to become that? Is Jerome LaRue going to be basically moved in to get more touches? So those were question marks that you figure out through the first 10 weeks of the season. And I think Coach Weck has done a masterful job of figuring out where everybody should be.
100%.
But the constant since week 1 was number 8, Stone Saunders, number 2, Dom Diaz-Ellis.
Yeah.
Outside. Those were the constant skill guys that teams had to sort of try to at least slow down to kind of match McDevitt's overall firepower, if you will. But just an impressive 221 yards against the WPIAL champion, to me, is fantastic. It's something worthy of talking about for a long time.
Against a team whose strength was their run defense.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Another thing, piggybacking off of defense, another thing for McDevitt, they've been winning the turnover game too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have Landon Block, who Dan had wrote about.
Yep.
He just had his second interception.
Yep.
And second career interception. Before that, we were talking about Tyler Reinhardt. He had 4 picks in games. Then Luke Lawler, big time forced fumble that they were able to recover.
Yeah, you do have to get a little bit lucky, right? Not lucky in that you don't earn your luck, but lucky in that the turnovers come at the right time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They forced some turnovers in big spots. What was it, the 4th down where it looked like Timmons had converted it and they forced a fumble there?
Yep.
Forcing a fumble there is a lot different than forcing a fumble on the 3rd drive at the or
Absolutely.
3rd down at the 50 or something like that. It's such a back.
Exactly.
Because if he converts that, they score there, right? It's a 1-possession ball game.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, there's all this pressure on McDevitt. So when I say luck, it's about sequencing. It's about the right play coming at the right time. And it just feels like things are kind of coalescing for McDevitt right now. They're at the. I don't really understand craps. I've never understood how that game is played, but
I'll teach you.
But they're rolling the dice, and whatever the correct, what is it, 7? You want to roll 7s?
Initially, you want to roll 7.
Yeah. It feels like they're rolling 7s right now. So,
exactly.
if anyone wants to teach me craps at Chapman Field this week, let me know. I probably shouldn't learn how to play. I probably should stay away from the craps stage.
Listen, here's the first piece of advice. Always play the pass line. If you play the don't pass line, you're playing with the house, and everybody will give you dirty looks. Okay, that's the first rule.
I'm taking notes right now.
All right, and I'm impressed. It's hard for me to make the transition here to Saturday, which was even as cold, if not colder. Right?
The wind was worse.
More cold.
I'll tell you that. The wind was worse.
The sun was out.
It was pretty warm. It was pretty warm doing the live updates post.
Listen, Evan was happy with his omelet choice at Denny's to open
awesome.
up.
Okay.
A lot of hot coffee.
Awesome. You're the first person to ever use the word awesome with a Denny's
For a Denny's omelet.
Yeah.
Hey, I like my Denny's omelet.
I don't know. I ordered something called a slamwich.
Sorry, I don't think we're getting a Denny's sponsorship anytime
Probably
soon.
not.
Yeah.
Probably not. But a slamwich was lovely. Took half of it, put it in the car. I'll tell you what, on the drive home, the lonely turnpike at night came in handy.
I kind of like breakfast leftovers. They're kind of underrated.
Yeah, they are underrated.
Yeah.
But everyone wants to heat them up. I don't care.
No.
Like if it's a little chill on it, it's all right. Yeah. But anyway, Sunday, let's turn to Sunday. And I used the word resilient, I think, 3 or 4 times in the story about Harrisburg. They eventually go down 38-33 to Whitfield champ Pittsburgh Central Catholic. I think short of winning this game, I think Harrisburg ended the season in the best possible way with this effort. I mean, I've been impressed with Harrisburg for weeks and weeks and weeks, but this to me was the most impressive effort of the season. Backs against the wall, down 13-0 early. They were eventually down 38-21. Yes, they made some mistakes, and yes, they had opportunities here, but I believe that the overall pace of PCC was going to be eventually dig in and sort of overwhelm them a little bit later in the game, the second half. And I just thought Wilson didn't really do Harrisburg any favors in that walkover District 3 title game. So I didn't know if they were fully prepared for this. All the answers came about with just an unbelievable performance in a 5-point loss.
Yeah, I think like it kind of reminded me of the Battle of the Berg.
Yes.
Just in the sense of like they refused to die.
Yep.
They just kept on finding a way back into having it be a game right down to the wire. I mean, it ended on the last play there, sort of kneeling the ball after.
Yep. An interception in the end zone in the final seconds.
By freshman safety.
By a freshman safety who's already got a bunch of offers.
Yeah.
It's going to be an FBS player for PCC. But to get down there and actually just make the drive, all game long, Harrisburg had to drive the length of the field. And they kept giving up short yardage situations, and PCC, to their credit, took full advantage. I wrote about it in this story. Their four first half scores all started inside Harrisburg territory and well inside. I think the furthest one was from the 42 of Harrisburg. They had short fields. They took advantage of it. They got a tremendous football program, no doubt about it. But block punt, short punt, because of the pressure that they were getting on special teams, and then one turnover. But I still to have all those things domino on you in the first half and still be in the ball game. They're only down 7 at halftime. It's 28-21 when it was 13-0. I was just so impressed with the job that not only Calvin Everett did and his coaching staff, but just the guys on the field. There were times, Dan, I think you and I talked about Elias Koch, who thankfully is only a junior.
Yeah.
So we get to see him when we're here. But we were talking about him. Hey, we really like him at free safety too. Yeah. Like this guy's a really. If there were any doubt that he's a Division I and FBS wide receiver, all of that went to rest. If you saw highlights of this game,
whoever hasn't seen that Elias Koch touchdown catch.
I was talking to Pittsburgh people, and they good friend Steve Rothstein, who's at the game.
Yep.
He said, there are a lot of people in his mentions from Central Catholic saying, "Hey, that Koch catch wasn't a touchdown." Because if you watched it on the broadcast, it does not look like he.
That's what I put on Twitter. I said it didn't seem like it in real time. It seemed like when he came down, the top half of his chest hit the line.
But that's the separator of what makes guys Division I wide receivers is that control of your body, that awareness of your body to be able to figure out where the boundary is, get in there, make the catch, balance. Also, actually physically harnessing the ball, and it was unreal. And credit, you mentioned it. If Cal Everett's done a better coaching job in his tenure, which is already filled with great coaching jobs, I'd like to see one. Thinking about everything this team's been through, we started the year with, is Sean Lee going to be eligible? Having to juggle that. You get hit week 1 by getting your teeth punched in by LaSalle.
Yes.
Then the first practice after that LaSalle game, probably best overall player, breaks his foot and is going to miss the rest of the year.
Yep.
And then what do you have that next week? You have that Bishop McDevitt game with a new starting quarterback, and just every hurdle that this team faced, they battled. And even in this last one, they faced a 17-point hurdle, and they were, a couple inches away from winning that. Just a heck of a job. And, I was saying this before this, Brian. I went into this game. I think this St. Joe's Prep team is a good football team.
Yeah.
I don't think this is the unbeatable Titan that they've been in years past. And I think that both of these teams, whoever came out of this game, is going to be coming in with a real chance to, be the 6A state champion. And I still feel that way.
Well, I think your notion about that was proven by Harrisburg.
Yeah.
Like I think, like I said, Harrisburg could have very easily just, and listen, and I talked to Kevin Brown after the game, and he was right. The frustrations of giving up those short fields started getting to a few of the guys, and it started to kind of leak out into what was going on. But through all that, they still persevered and still went after it and still had a chance to win.
Yeah.
So that to me is an incredible performance. But I agree with you. I think St. Joe's Prep has obviously done a tremendous job, like they always do. 10-2 for a reason, gets a really good schedule. But PCC is going to give them a whale of a ball game. I'm not sure who I'm going to pick at this point, but it's tough to bet against the Hawks when it comes final championship weekend. But that's also a very talented team. The Vikings are really talented.
It'll be a more entertaining 6A title game. Pass.
I hope so. Yeah, because I don't want to hear all the tweeting and all the text messages about private schools, two private schools being inside there.
The same exact conversation.
Exactly. All right, so let's quickly go. We're going to talk McDevitt here, but let's quickly go over the schedule for Thursday. For those who don't know, who want to bundle up and get out there and watch some football, Class 1A final is between Bishop Guilford and Port Allegheny. And apparently you want to really watch this Port Allegheny team because they just put up 48 in a game that no one outside of Port Allegheny gave the team a chance to win. So really, really impressive on their part. That's the single leg game. That's 1 o'clock on Thursday. Of course, LS will play Bonner Prendy in the 7 o'clock 4A final. All of these games, of course, are at Chapman Field at Cumberland Valley High School. Friday, before the McDevitt game, is the 2A final. That's Troy and Central Clarion. That's going to be a real blitzkrieg, that one. Two really good offensive teams collide, and then McDevitt takes on Roman Catholic. We're going to talk more about that in a sec. Saturday schedule, Northwestern Lehigh back in the finals. In 3A, they will play Whitfield champ Avonworth. And then, of course, St. Joe's Prep and Pittsburgh Central Catholic will round up and wrap up the weekend on Saturday night at 7 o'clock in the 6A final. Okay, Bishop McDevitt back in the final. Sort of erases that bad memory. Losing to Dallas last year in the semifinals. I was at that game. There was a lot of rain and a lot of just sort of mediocre play by McDevitt, and that's really not what we're used to. It's been anything but this year. These guys seem like they're on a mission. Yes, the loss to Harrisburg. Yes, the loss to State College in that unbelievable shootout in Week 10. But I think we all agree that McDevitt probably the favorite here.
Yeah. I think I just think that the complete football games they are putting together week to week, and Roman Catholic's doing it too. But, but the fact that Bishop McDevitt is doing this with kind of the talent they have at almost every position, it's just really hard to pick against them. And they've been at this spot before. What is it? Is this Roman Catholic's first? It
is their first state final. Yes.
So the one thing is, this is probably the best quarterback matchup we have. Maybe.
It's going to be fun.
Samaj versus Stone is some appointment television. So I do think McDevitt's going to be the favorite, but Rick Preet's one of the best coaches in the state as well, and he'll have that team ready to go.
Yeah, for sure. I just obviously haven't put my eyes on Roman Catholic live. I've seen a bunch of film on them and a bunch of highlights and things like that. But I keep going back to this schedule and how this ridiculous schedule sort of gets them ready. I know we talked a little bit before the pod, Dan, about McDevitt's really good schedule as well. But, not having to deal with basically a strong District 3, 5A, if you will. We had a couple undefeated teams that just, McDevitt's just sort of stepped over. But then that all went away, obviously, against Pine-Richland. But, when you lose to DeMatha Catholic out of Maryland, you lose to Prendergast by 8 points. And, of course, you played the two big boys in 6A. That'd be LaSalle College and St. Joe's Prep, one of them in a championship game. I think you have to absolutely respect what Samaj Beals has meant to that team. There's some other characters, too, that you're going to have to deal with. They are a fast football team. They're going to be a physical football team. All the things McDevitt has, I don't think it's going to be anything McDevitt hasn't seen. So the preparation can be there. But when you got a guy like Beals, too, things tend to domino away from you, too. And that's the only thing I think McDevitt has to worry about is maybe a mistake or two early. And Beals is going to make you pay, and maybe you're down 14-0.
Yeah, that's the thing. We haven't seen
we haven't seen McDevitt do that.
We haven't seen them playing from behind in a long time.
Right.
So, in fact, have they played from behind at all this year?
Well, State College were behind the entire game.
Yeah, I guess.
But it turned into an absolute shootout, and that was just like, okay, no one's going to stop anybody, particularly on special teams in that game. And obviously, Ish Palmer is now injured, so that's
he's ineligible.
Ineligible, yeah. So that's a part of McDevitt that they don't have. And Palmer was unbelievable in that State College game. Just returns. He returned every kick. Either he's one tackle away from breaking it, or he returned it to the midfield.
Yeah.
So, and of course, Ty Salazar did the same thing for State College, and him and Cooper Brushwood. So, but that game just turned into what it was. But yeah, I mean, McDevitt just has shown that resolve too at times, and always coming back. And with all the playmakers too, they're always going to be. Roman's not going to run away from Bishop McDevitt. Let's put it that way. The question is, can Bishop McDevitt sort of just keep that engine going, and and maybe catch a lead against Roman? I don't know. I think this could be a wire to wire game.
Yeah, they're who they are for a reason. Both teams with their different strengths of schedule. And just to go off of seeing Jerome LaRue Jr. filling the role at a return specialist, seeing what he's been able to do too. He had that kick return for a touchdown against Exeter, and he's been kind of taking the reins on that front. So that's certainly a position to watch as well when kind of make that change in the postseason like that.
Absolutely. Dan, I forgot to ask you. You said you were a side dish guy. What was the highlight? What was the best side dish for you?
What was really good I actually said I wasn't. I'm a turkey guy. But,
you're a full. Okay,
yeah,
my apologies.
But my favorite was my mom made some tremendous green beans. Some green beans with a nice little glaze. Some chopped up almond. It was
not in a casserole.
No, not
just loose.
Just really just some. They were kind of roasted a little bit. Maybe they were tremendous and very good the next day too. But I'm a turkey. The turkey was one of the best turkeys we've had in years. So it was perfect.
I fried one. How about you, Ev?
I had some sweet potato pie that I really like.
Oh, interesting.
Mashed potatoes.
I'm not a sweet potato guy.
Me either. I don't like them at all.
I don't like sweet potato pie or cranberry sauce.
Yeah, I don't like.
Yeah, I don't like the jiggly stuff.
I hate my Thanksgiving, but I am a turkey guy.
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't get the whole jiggly cranberry sauce stuff.
No.
Well, that's because you're buying it store bought. I make my own cranberry sauce.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, you make it.
I make it.
Interesting. I mean, he's a talent over there.
I like to get amongst it.
Just jack of all trades.
I mean, I only like it on a sandwich. That's it. But
it's good. I can't even look at it.
Yeah,
I don't even like it.
Yeah. I mean,
my aunt made some kind of squash dish. I don't even know really what squash looks like, to be honest with you. But it was underneath a couple layers and some onions in there. I'm a big onion guy. It was fantastic. That was the best side.
Sounds pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I'm just all about as long as the turkey's good, I'm happy.
Yeah, you're fine. Good to know. All right, we had before we get going, a bit of breaking news. Obviously, this week we talked, put something up on the upheaval, if you will, at Susquehanna Township. They opened the position of head coach Joe Headen, who's been with the program for 23 years as head coach. Heaton, of course, is a McDevitt alum, went to Bloomsburg and played linebacker, then basically came out and started his coaching and teaching career. He's a social studies teacher inside the building. And there is a faction, if you will, maybe a one-person faction, after basically want to open that position. And there is support for Joe that continues to grow through a change.org petition. I think right now, it's up to about 3,000 signatures. I know initially I looked at it when it was started, and they were hoping to get 800 signatures, and they're now approaching 3,000 as we record this podcast. So I just wanted to get your thoughts, guys. Dan, obviously you've dealt, you've been, you've talked to Joe plenty of times, and obviously I have my opinion on this, but we have to look at this objectively too.
Yeah, I mean, Joe's just always been tremendous to us. Really great dude, and you can see by both the community reaction on that petition and just the reactions in general. I mean, I've just seen what he means to that community and everything, and how important he is, and it's when you see guys like Torrin Evans retweeting and backing their coach. That's part of what you get into high school sports for, right? Is to see that. On the flip side, it's been a long time, right? And some of these programs just they're looking, right. They're always looking to kind of get to that point where some of these other programs are, and sometimes there are going to be people in the administration that feel like, hey, we need to make a change to see if we can level up the program and try to get to that state championship level, which they have talent, and they have talent, Susquehanna Township, and maybe Joe Headen could get them there. Maybe they feel like there's someone else who can. We know Lance Dean is taking over as the athletic director, so maybe there's some sort of plan in place to find someone else who kind of aligns with kind of a new plan there. But in terms of what he's done for that community, I think that's more important than anything that's been happening on the football field, just based on how it seems like he's affected those kids and kind of helped kids get into college, get ready for the next level. And, it's always tough when you're looking at administrators trying to balance, that postseason, getting to that final stage in the postseason versus what the actual goal of high school sports is, which is get kids ready for the next level. And Joe's done that second part about as well as anyone.
I remember talking with Lex Cyrus about how he remembers not even winning a game.
Yeah.
As a freshman and entering this season, we were talking about Susquehanna Township, potentially, being in a district championship, potentially, and 8 wins this year, and it seems like going off of what Dan was saying about seeing players like Torrin retweet it and the community response, it does seem like Joe Headen has the locker room. I think that's pretty certain. And as I'm reading this now, I have it up 2,629 signatures as of today afternoon. So yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people were pretty stunned.
Yeah, I think so. What's interesting to me is, and this is not the first time this has happened. We've all gone through this, and we've all seen quality coaches, guys who really, really care and really, really take care of the program and the kids in it, just be sort of cast aside for whatever reason. And it's usually a couple backdoor dealings between one or two people that starts this thing rolling. Okay. What's always interesting to me is I know there's good people that are on school boards. Okay. I know that there's good business people. There's good family men and women. I get that. But most of them don't know what it looks like. Don't know what it should look like on these programs or what it should feel like. You know what I mean? So knowing that you don't know that, and you're telling yourself, and they release a statement saying, we want to do what's best for our student athletes. What is best for those student athletes at Susquehanna Township?
Well, I think,
is there anybody better for that position than Joe Headen?
Well, I think the quote he gave was kind of the right one, which is like, it's one thing, right, to let someone go and say, hey, it's been 23 years.
Right.
We really want to, kind of take this program to the next level. We think we can build like a powerhouse football program here. That's one thing.
Yep.
It's another thing for a guy who's been there that long to say, hey, I don't know if he outright said it. I don't know how he said it, but say, hey, I would like to end this on my terms.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like that's kind of where, the issue when someone means this much to your community, you kind of have to do this in a pretty, if you're going to make the move, which is one thing. I don't think that necessarily making a move is some morally objectionable thing. I think, though, that you have to do it in a way that the community is okay with, that Joe at least feels, that he was given kind of.
Right.
And it doesn't feel like, it feels like there was some sort of missed connection there. Because, there aren't many coaches that stay placed for like 30 something years. It's hard. It's hard to do.
It's more rare.
Yeah.
Obviously, the more time goes on, it does. You're right.
So I think that's kind of where the disconnect is. I do think that, everyone probably just wants Susquehanna Township to be the football program everyone thinks it can be in terms of wins and losses. But again, this isn't the NFL. This isn't college football. There's more to high school football than
absolutely
than winning district championships.
Absolutely.
And state championships.
I mean, nobody's brought more notoriety to that school than Joe Headen.
Yeah.
No one has done it. And if you're going to tell me that somebody's going to come in and win, and be 9-2 or 9-1 instead of 8-3 or whatever Susquehanna was this year, they would have done a better
and maybe
job.
There's another shoe to drop. We don't know. We'll see what we'll see what happens, because there's always back, like you said, there's always plenty of backdoor stuff.
It's just, that's how it is.
Yeah.
That's how it is in these situations. I mean, I go back to the Waynesboro coach years ago, and I'm sorry, I'm old. I can't remember his name, but he was a young up and coming coach, and they hired him at Waynesboro. And let's face it, there just wasn't a lot of talent at Waynesboro. And they went 0-10, they went 1-9, 0-10, 1-9, and they got rid of him. And here was a 27-year-old guy who was first to the field, dragging out the dummies and the tackling dummies for practice. He was the last guy to clean up in the field. He showed up for his kids. He was encouraging them to get good grades, and football is about life and this and that. And for his troubles and his time, and for what, $6,000 maybe at that point, probably less at Waynesboro, there was a faction that just said, well, we want him gone. Yeah. We should be better. Because they didn't know what they didn't know what it looked like outside. And it just happens all the time. It's a shame that this is how it happens. But again, I say if you really care about student athletes, you should really sit down and ask yourself who's been better for those kids. And all the comments that have come in through the change thing have been unbelievable stories about families who just, dropped off their kid in the middle of camp and boom, he's been taken in. So I hope it works out. I talked to Joe quickly. I'm not sure if he will reapply. Of course, in their statement, they said he's welcome to reapply. So we'll see. Right now, we're in a holding pattern to see what actually happens. But anyway, okay, that'll do it for this edition of the PIAA High School Football Report. I want to thank Evan Wheaton, Dan Sostek. We will be at Cumberland Valley High School for 3 straight days and 6 championship bouts. Get out and watch some football. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of things to eat over there. If you want to pack up and make sure you layer up.
Yeah, bundle up.
Because you're gonna need it. You're gonna need it. All right, that'll do it. We appreciate your time, and I think we do have a wrap-up show next week. Is that correct?
Well, we can have a wrap-up.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, listen, Megan Merlin, the producer, says we're having a wrap-up show. We're gonna have a wrap-up show. So get out there and enjoy some football. Thanks.